I'm still shaking as I write this. My hands won't stop trembling, and every shadow in this hospital room makes me jump. The doctors say I'm lucky to be alive, but they don't understand what luck means when you've seen what I've seen, when you've looked into those eyes. 3 nights ago, I watched my best friend die. Not just die, get torn apart. And the thing that did it wasn't supposed to exist. My name is Henry. I'm 23 years old, and until last week, I thought I had my whole life figured out. I grew up in Seattle, graduated with a forestry degree, and took a job with the Montana Conservation Corps. The pay wasn't great, but I loved the wilderness. I loved the silence of the mountains, the smell of pine needles after rain, the way the stars looked without city lights drowning them out. I thought nature was beautiful. I thought I understood it. I was so incredibly wrong. It started when my supervisor, Marcus, assigned me and Jake to conduct a wildlife survey near Gilmer Creek. Jake was my roommate and the closest thing I had to family out here. We'd spent countless nights around campfires, sharing beers and stories. He was 25, engaged to a girl back in Billings, planning a summer wedding. He showed me the ring he'd bought her at least 50 times. A simple silver band with a small diamond. He was so proud of it. The assignment seemed routine. We were supposed to set up trail cameras, check for signs of elk migration, and document any unusual animal activity. The area had been closed to hikers for 2 weeks because of aggressive wildlife behavior, but nobody specified what that meant. Local ranchers had reported livestock killings, 12 cattle in 3 weeks, all found with their throats torn out. Fish and Wildlife blamed a rogue mountain lion, maybe a bear coming out of hibernation early. We drove up to the trailhead on October 23rd. The weather forecast predicted clear skies, cold nights, temperatures dropping to the low 30s. We packed accordingly, thermal sleeping bags, a 4-season tent, enough food for 5 days. The plan was simple: hike 8 miles into the backcountry, set up base camp near Gilmer Creek, spend 3 days surveying, then hike back out. The first day was perfect. Sunny, crisp autumn air. This one is turning gold against the dark green of the pines. We made good time, reaching the creek by late afternoon. The water ran clear and cold over smooth stones, and we could see trout darting in the deeper pools. Jake caught 2 for dinner while I set up the tent in a clearing about 40 yards from the water. "This is paradise," Jake said that night as we ate the fish. "Sarah would love it here. Maybe I'll bring her camping for our honeymoon." I remember laughing. "Your idea of a honeymoon is camping?" "Our honeymoon," he corrected. "And yeah, beats some crowded beach resort. Out here, it's just you and nature. Nothing fake, nothing artificial, just real." That night, I heard the howling for the first time. We were in the tent, tucked into our sleeping bags when it started. A long, mournful sound that didn't quite sound like any wolf I'd ever heard. It was deeper, almost guttural, with a strange resonance that seemed to vibrate in my chest. Jake sat up immediately. "That's close," he whispered. I checked my watch, 11:47. The moon was almost full. I'd noticed it rising earlier, huge and orange on the horizon. Now it was high overhead, turning the forest silver. "Mountain wolves," I said, trying to sound confident. "They're not a threat if we stay in the tent." But even as I said it, something felt wrong. The howl came again, closer this time, and I realized what was bothering me. It was singular. Wolf packs howled together, creating a chorus. This was one voice, one animal, one very large animal. Jake unzipped his sleeping bag. "I'm going to check if our food is secure. We hung it, right?" 20 feet up, 100 yards from camp, I confirmed. "Jake, just stay inside." But he was already pulling on his boots. "I'll be 2 minutes. Just want to make sure." I should have stopped him. I should have grabbed his arm and made him stay. But I didn't, and that decision haunts every moment of my existence now. He stepped outside with his flashlight. I heard his footsteps crunching through the frost-stiffened grass. The beam of his light swept across the trees, creating dancing shadows. Everything seemed normal for maybe 30 seconds. Then Jake screamed. It wasn't a shout or a yell. It was a scream of pure, primal terror, the sound a human makes when they suddenly understand they're about to die. I scrambled out of my sleeping bag, my fingers clumsy with the tent zipper. "Henry, help me! Help!" His voice cut off. I finally got the zipper down and burst outside. My flashlight beam swept wildly across the clearing. Jake's flashlight lay on the ground, still on, pointing toward the forest, but Jake was gone. "Jake!" I shouted. My voice sounded small and pathetic in the vast darkness. "Jake!" Something moved at the edge of the clearing, something massive. I swung my light toward it and caught a glimpse, just a glimpse of something that shouldn't exist. It was huge, at least 7 feet tall, covered in dark matted fur, but it stood upright like a man. Its eyes reflected my light, glowing an unnatural yellow-green. Then it was gone, melting into the shadows with impossible speed for something so large. I stood frozen, my beam shaking as my hands trembled. The forest had gone completely silent. No insects, no night birds, nothing. Just the sound of my own ragged breathing and the creek burbling in the distance. "Jake!" I called again, softer this time. I don't know why I bothered. I knew he wasn't going to answer. I should have run back to the tent. I should have grabbed our emergency radio and called for help. But I couldn't leave Jake. Maybe he was hurt. Maybe he needed me. So I moved forward, following the trail of disturbed grass and broken branches. I found him 50 yards into the forest. The scene is burned into my mind forever. Jake lay crumpled against a fallen log, his body twisted at an impossible angle. His throat, I can't describe it, I won't describe it, but there was so much blood it looked black in the moonlight, spreading across the pine needles in a pool that seemed to grow as I watched. I dropped to my knees beside him, pressing my fingers to his neck, even though I knew it was pointless. His skin was still warm. His eyes were open, staring at nothing. The engagement ring he had been so proud of glinted on his finger. A branch cracked behind me. I spun around, my light catching movement in the underbrush. The thing was there, watching me from the shadows. I could see it more clearly now. It was like a wolf, but wrong in every way. Too large, too muscular. Its front limbs were longer than its hind legs, almost like arms, ending in paws that looked disturbingly like hands with massive claws. Its snout was shorter than a wolf's, its jaw more powerful. And its eyes, God, its eyes held an intelligence that animals shouldn't have. It was studying me, deciding whether I was prey or a threat. I did the only thing my panicked mind could conceive. I raised my arms and screamed, trying to make myself look bigger, more threatening. "Get away! Go!" It tilted its head, almost curious. Then its lips pulled back, revealing teeth that were far too long, far too sharp. A low growl rumbled from its chest, a sound that seemed to vibrate the air itself. I ran. I don't remember consciously making the decision. My body just moved, pure instinct taking over. I crashed through the forest, branches whipping my face, roots trying to trip me. Behind me, I could hear it following, the heavy thud of paws hitting earth, the snap of branches, breathing that sounded almost like panting. It was playing with me. I realized that with cold certainty. It could have caught me anytime it wanted. It was just enjoying the chase. I burst out of the tree line and ran along the creek, my boots splashing through the shallow water. The moon lit everything with harsh silver light, turning the landscape into something alien and hostile. I risked a glance back and saw it at the forest's edge, its massive form silhouetted against the dark trees. It stood there on its hind legs, watching me run. Then it dropped to all fours and charged. I've never experienced true terror until that moment. Seeing that thing bound toward me with horrifying speed, each leap covering impossible distances, I knew I was dead. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. It would reach me in seconds and tear me apart just like it had done to Jake. Ahead, I spotted a section where the creek had eroded the bank, creating a small overhang with exposed tree roots. Without thinking, I dove for it, squirming into the narrow space. The earth was cold and damp against my back. I pulled my legs up, making myself as small as possible, and turned off my flashlight. I heard it arrive. The splashing stopped. Heavy footsteps moved along the creek bank directly above my hiding spot. Dirt and small stones trickled down as it walked overhead. Then the footsteps stopped. Silence. I held my breath, not daring to move. My heart hammered so hard I was sure it could hear it. Seconds stretched into minutes. My legs cramped. My lungs burned, but I didn't move. Then I heard breathing, right above me, It was sniffing the air, searching for my scent. A low whine escaped it. Frustrated, angry. More dirt fell, and I realized with mounting horror that it was digging. Its claws scraped at the earth, tearing away chunks of soil. I was going to die here, trapped in this hole like a rabbit while this monster dug me out. The digging intensified. I could see one of its claws now, punching through the thin layer of earth above me. Black fur, yellow claw, curved and sharp. It pulled back for another strike. Then, from somewhere distant, came another sound. Different howling. Multiple voices this time. Real wolves, maybe, or coyotes. The digging stopped abruptly. The creature above me went silent, listening. Then I heard it move away, padding back into the forest. I stayed in that hole until dawn. I didn't move even when my legs went numb, even when I started shivering uncontrollably from the cold and shock. I just stayed there, staring at the patch of moonlit sky visible through the roots, expecting any second to see those yellow-green eyes looking back at me. When the first gray light of dawn finally appeared, I crawled out. My whole body ached. My clothes were soaked with creek water and mud. I stumbled back to our campsite. Everything was destroyed. The tent had been shredded, its fabric hanging in strips. Our gear was scattered everywhere. And there, in the dirt near the tent, were tracks. I'm a trained wildlife surveyor. I know animal tracks. These were like wolf prints, but enormous, nearly 10 inches long, and the front prints showed clear evidence of those hand-like paws with distinct claw marks. I grabbed the emergency radio from the ruins of our gear. My hands shook so badly it took 3 tries to turn it on. "This is Henry Morrison. We need immediate help. There's been a death. My partner is dead. Something attacked us. We're at Gilmer Creek base camp. Please, you need to send help now." The response came crackling back. "Copy that. What's the nature of the attack? Bear? Mountain lion?" I looked at the massive tracks in the dirt, at the shredded tent, at the dark stains that I knew was Jake's blood on the grass leading into the forest. "I don't know what it was," I said, "but it's still out here." The helicopter arrived 3 hours later. They had to land in a meadow half a mile away. 2 rangers and a sheriff's deputy hiked in to meet me. I led them to where I'd found Jake's body. It was gone. The blood was there, dried now, rust-colored in the morning light. The disturbed earth, the broken branches. But Jake's body had vanished. The only trace was a drag mark leading deeper into the forest, and even that disappeared after 20 yards. "Black bears will sometimes cache their prey," one of the rangers said, examining the scene. He was trying to sound clinical, professional. But I saw how his hand stayed near the rifle on his hip. "Cover it with debris and come back to feed later." "That wasn't a bear," I said. My voice sounded hollow, distant. "Son, I know this is traumatic." "I saw it," I interrupted. "It walked on 2 legs. It was at least 7 feet tall. Its eyes reflected light. That wasn't any bear." The deputy exchanged a glance with the rangers. I knew what they were thinking. Shock, trauma, hysteria. The kid's mind snapped, and now he's seeing monsters. "Let's get you down the mountain," the deputy said gently. "You need medical attention." They found some of Jake's remains 2 days later. I was in the hospital by then, being treated for severe hypothermia and shock. They didn't tell me the details, but I overheard nurses talking. Multiple sites, scattered over a quarter-mile radius. They said it was definitely a bear attack, that sometimes bears will scatter remains over a large territory. But I know what I saw. They sent a team back to search the area. 20 people, armed to the teeth, spent 4 days combing the forest. They found more livestock kills. They found tracks that the official report described as unusually large canid prints, possibly wolf-dog hybrid. They found scratch marks on trees 8 feet off the ground. They didn't find the creature. The case was closed as a fatal bear attack. Fish and Wildlife killed 2 black bears in the area just to be safe. Jake's fiancée came to see me once, Sarah. She sat beside my hospital bed and asked me to tell her what happened. I started to explain about the creature, about what I'd seen. She stood up before I could finish. "Don't," she said quietly, "just don't. They told me you were in shock, that you might say things that don't make sense. Jake died from a bear attack. That's tragic enough. I don't need you turning it into some horror story." She left. I haven't heard from her since. The Montana Conservation Corps offered me a desk job in Helena. Paperwork, data entry, no more field work. I took it. I couldn't imagine going back into the wilderness anyway. But here's the thing that keeps me awake at night. 2 weeks ago, there was another attack. A hunter 50 miles north of Gilmer Creek, found dead in the forest, throat torn out. Fish and Wildlife is calling it another bear attack. Last week, a rancher lost 6 sheep. Same area, same pattern, killed but not eaten, just destroyed. And 3 nights ago, the night of the full moon, I was in my Helena apartment when I heard it. That howl, that same impossible, guttural howl that doesn't sound quite like a wolf. It was distant, coming from the mountains west of the city, but I recognized it immediately. I called the sheriff. I told them there was something dangerous in the mountains, that people needed to be warned. The dispatcher thanked me politely and suggested I speak with my therapist about my ongoing trauma. So here I am, writing this down because I need people to know. Because Jake deserves people to know the truth. Because that thing is still out there, and it's going to kill again. They say I'm crazy. They say I've invented a monster to cope with the trauma of losing my best friend. Maybe they're right. Maybe my mind did break that night in the forest, and everything I remember is just a hallucination constructed by a psyche that couldn't handle what it saw. But I still have mud on my boots from that creek bank. I still have scratches on my arms from running through the forest. And sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I look out my window at the mountains silhouetted against the sky and wonder if it's looking back, wondering if it remembers the prey that got away. Last night I found something in my mailbox. No postage, no return address, just a small cardboard box. Inside was Jake's engagement ring. The silver was tarnished now, the small diamond coated in something dark that might have been dried blood. And underneath it, a single black hair, coarse, nearly 4 inches long. It didn't come from any dog or wolf I've ever seen. I'm leaving Montana. Tomorrow morning, I'm packing everything I own into my truck and driving as far away as I can. Maybe California, maybe Florida. Somewhere without mountains, without forests, without the possibility of running into that thing again. But I know it won't matter, because sometimes in the moment between waking and sleeping, I see those yellow-green eyes staring at me from the darkness. And I know that it isn't finished with me. That night in the forest, when it let me escape, it wasn't mercy, it wasn't chance, it was a promise. A promise that says, I know where you are, I know what you smell like, I know the sound of your heartbeat when you're terrified, and when the moon is full and I'm hungry again, I'll come find you. Not to kill you quickly like I killed your friend, but to make you run one more time, to feel that fear again, to remind you that you're not the apex predator you think you are. That something older, something stronger, something that shouldn't exist still hunts in the dark places of the world. Jake never made it to his wedding. His parents buried an empty coffin because there wasn't enough of him left to fill it. Sarah will never wear that engagement ring, and I'll never sleep soundly again. Because I know the truth that everyone else refuses to believe. Monsters are real, and one of them knows my name. The full moon is in 3 days. I can already feel it watching me, somewhere out there in the darkness. Waiting, patient, hungry. And I know that no matter where I run, no matter how far I go, eventually it will find me. Because that's what predators do. They hunt, they stalk, they kill, and I've been marked as prey.